leader. My sweet leader. Second, pain will find you. Trouble and disagreement will arrive without summons. There's no choice in this. There's no effort required. You simply stand still and the galaxy will deliver a daily basket of fresh anxieties to your door without fail.
We're worth more to him separately than together.
Well, that's something we'll have to talk to him about.
But my Salom, my hope is that you learn to reach past this constant cloud of sadness. Pleasure, gaiety, amusement, these are the hidden things. The music buried beneath all that noise. Joy! Joy! Joy. But joy has no wind at its back. Joy will not announce its arrival. You need to listen for it and be mindful of how fleeting and delicate it can be. But search out these treasures. A moment of pleasing sensation. The memory of laughter and good company. The comfort of a fine meal. And for me right now, it's a smile that I can't hide as I see these two young people sharing our greatest tradition. Sagrona.
Who knew that Perrin Fertha, the degenerate gambler and alcoholic, had that speech in him? That's what makes Andor special, right? These unexpected character developments that completely change our view on characters who I admittedly already had past judgment on. It takes such skill to fill your audience with empathy and to change their minds. I mean, whoever wrote this monologue is just a master at their craft. I used to think that Perrin embraced hedonism as a philosophy, a way to live life, where pleasure is a means to an end. But now I'm not so sure. I'm starting to believe that Perrin's hedonism is actually driven by his desire to escape the circumstances of his life. I mean, how can someone like Perrin, who feels as much as he does, live such a meaningless life, unless he in fact is drowning? In a series full of amazing monologues, I am very shocked that it would be Perrin who would talk to us about love, especially when he and Mon Mothma are in a relationship that seems completely devoid of it. But the more you understand who Perrin is, I think the more everything makes sense here. One day when Andor is finished, I want to sit down and write a script about all of the characters in the show and what their lives would be like without the Empire, when they're just in their truest state and completely liberated. To see all of these amazing characters live under such oppression without hope is a complete shame. I want to think about Brasso and Andor actually getting a drink at Cavo's finally. I want to see Luthen, the thespian, finally getting the audience his performance deserves. I want to see Vel and Cinta finally explore their deep and profound connection with each other while traveling the galaxy in a Subaru Forester. A vehicle with robust all-wheel drive capabilities at an affordable price. We talk about the Empire's horror, how it poisons every aspect of society, but we speak about this so much that it becomes routine and therefore somewhat meaningless.
The pace of oppression outstrips our ability to understand it, and that is the real trick of the Imperial thought machine. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident.
And that is why having a single character like Perrin to focus on can show us what the true impacts are of the Empire at the individual level. You see, Perrin is not a hero, he's not a villain either, he's just your typical citizen. He's a product of his environment, an individual who chooses to swim the current rather than go against it because that is the easy thing to do. And it's relatable because we've all taken the easy choice from time to time. It's just most of us don't make it our complete identity. The universal truth is the environment we live in, the culture we participate in, and the political order we live under. These are all things that shape who we are, no matter how much we fight it. The type of tyranny the Empire creates affects every aspect of life. Palpatine wasn't just satisfied about controlling a massive military. He wanted to control how people thought, how they lived. He wanted complete obedience. And this affected not only the most vulnerable in society, the marginalized and poor, it also created an extremely toxic and self-serving, almost Sith-like culture amongst the elites as as well, which really begins to explain why Perrin is the way he is. Mon Mothma and Perrin were wed in accordance to Chandrilan tradition and also their parents' wishes at a very young age of just 15, just like their daughter Lita. On the surface, everything was fine. Perrin was known as a firebrand at the academy. He was terrific at making speeches and exciting the crowd and inspiring people. And in his older age, he still possesses the ability to do this, albeit for the banquet halls rather than the Galactic Senate. Mon Mothma came from a very powerful Chandrilan political dynasty, and she was expected to follow in the footsteps of her ancestors and serve in a position in the Senate, which is exactly what she does just a year after marrying Perrin, becoming one of the youngest senators in history. And so, at the young age of just 16, Perrin and Mon Mothma move together into the Chandrilan embassy and start carrying out the duties of that station. Perrin would be the Senate consort, a very charming everyman who is very good at greeting dignitaries and hosting parties, doing social events. In some ways, there's something admirable about Perrin just adjusting very nicely to this position where he is kind of overshadowed by his wife, who is one of the Galactic Senate's rising stars. One imagine he has put his own ambitions on hold, if he actually had any. You see, while the two held similar views, Mon Mothma was the true idealist, consistent in her views for most of her life and a great campaigner and organizer. It became apparent as the Empire reign started that Perrin was far more performative when it came to his politics. He knew what to say and how to endear himself to the many politicians that visited their lovely home. He knew how to remain relevant and tap into the cultural and political zeitgeist of the time. And so when politicians visited their lovely home, Perrin's conversations on politics were always just at the surface level, a way to segue into more interesting conversations, ideally about wine, gossip, and the racetracks. Perrin's disengagement from the political world is clearly a product of the Empire's oppression and crackdown on dissidents. Still, these two shine brightly. Mon Mothma, a rising star in the political world, her husband a gracious and entertaining host. They're a couple that were envied. Of course, like many things on Coruscant, what lays on the surface is only a thin veneer covering the decay and rot that lies beneath. The truth is, Perrin and Mon Mothma had been in a loveless relationship for quite some time. They fell out for the first time when they were just 20 years old. At the time, they had decided to not have children ever, but they did rebound, fall in love again, and then they would relapse. And somewhere along the road, they would also have a child. But not even something as miraculous as a healthy baby girl could save a relationship like this. But when you're in a position of power like Mon Mothma, when all eyes are on you, you really are wielding power that is a double-edged sword. Yes, Mon Mothma has great influence in the Senate, but at the same time, she must present a stable home and relationship with her husband to the public. A divorce or any kind of marital drama would be devastating for her image. Unfortunately, like a lot of people in positions of power with so many responsibilities, family comes second, or third, or fourth. When the Empire rises, everything changes. The Jedi Order is destroyed, there's a crackdown on dissidents like the senators who made up the delegation of 2000. With Emperor Palpatine recently declaring victory over the Separatists and ending the Clone Wars, there is very little that senators could do to resist the central government. As a matter of fact, during this time period, Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and many other senators had to give oaths of loyalty to the Emperor.
Upon my life and honor, for the peace and bounty of all beings.
Well, and the Covenant is that thing. But yeah, it's a horrific time, not only for Mon, but also Perrin, who has far less political power than his wife does, and simultaneously has grown accustomed to the wonderful life he has living at the capital, where every week he enjoys a new show or went to a new dinner party. If anything, the Empire's authoritarian reign has created a stability that just didn't exist during the Clone Wars, and so at first, Perrin just continues to do what he always does. But that's also a performance. Yes, he enjoys the wine, but after a while it doesn't work quite as well as it used to. And so one drinks more until they become blackout drunk more and more often. A very destructive way to escape from reality. The parties, they're fun as well, but after a while it becomes a bit repetitive, right? I mean, the same people and the same conversations, the same fake smiles.
Finish there.
Why so difficult this season? You never struggle.
It's these dinners. I count 80 new senators all hosting investiture banquets. It's tough squeezing a whole year's worth of insincerity into 3 nights.
Perrin isn't a revolutionary, he's not as courageous as Mon is, that much is clear. But that is what makes him more important, right? I mean, like, people like Mon Mothma will always follow their own independent thought, they will always resist tyranny wherever it pops up because her belief system is grounded in a very strong moral foundation. But there are far more Perrins in the world than there are Mon Mothmas just trying to get by and survive. They are ultimately the ones that people like Mon Mothma must convince to stand up and fight. And that's the thing, right? She's funneling all this money into the Axis network, trying her best to pass legislation to block Palpatine's executive overreach, but at home she can hardly even maintain a relationship with her husband, and it seems like her daughter also hates her as well. Remember that scene where Mon Mothma plans on dropping Lita off at school?
You're only doing it to show off.
What?
Just go.
What would I be showing off?
You're involved somehow.
Well, that's just
Nobody cares. You can relax.
so hurtful.
See? There you go.
Go where?
That's my point. It's all about you, isn't it? It's always all about you.
Is this really how you'd like to start the day?
I didn't choose this conversation.
It's easy to hate Lita and Perrin, but the truth is they're both byproducts of an imperial culture that punishes sincerity and rewards cynicism. Because in the Age of Empire, having moral values, having courage are all dangerous things. Lita might be too young to feel the fear of the Emperor's gaze on her back, but Perrin, who has a political mind, who talks and sees what the leaders of the political world are like, is infected with tremendous amounts of cynicism. It's not that he doesn't know right from wrong, it's not that he doesn't care, it's just that he feels so helpless. And as someone who assists his wife in her political activities, he fully understands just what kind of danger she is putting the family in by speaking out against the Emperor. And because ultimately he sees Mon Mothma's mission as completely fruitless, he's kind of bitter about it all.
The senator is pitching politics, not charity. Saving the Empire from the Emperor.
Do you remember Perrin at 15?
Oh, let's not.
The Academy Firebrand.
2 squigs again, sir.
Please.
How things change, eh?
In a show full of heroes, desperados, and martyrs, it's actually quite refreshing to be presented with a character like Perrin. He oftentimes doesn't do the right things. He's not someone we should probably look up to. He's an individual who has given up and has drowned himself in hedonistic pursuits in an attempt to make sense of the horrible pressure that is closing in all around him. There's actually no need to hate Perrin, because no one hates Perrin more than himself. His type of cynicism goes hand in hand with self-loathing and regret. I mean, that is why his speech is so powerful. Here's this ridiculous man with his silk cloaks pouring his heart out, and finally we get to see a glimpse of what he could be in a version of the galaxy worth fighting for. What's more tragic is the love lost between Perrin and Mon Mothma. I don't think that needs to happen. I mean, take a look at how Perrin looks at Mon during the wedding when she's dancing. Can you blame him for just wanting a wife, a partner, instead of a revolutionary fighter? I know when I had a child and I started a family with my wife, you know, I moderated considerably. You know, I thought more about my actions, my behaviors, stopped riding motorcycles. Maybe I'll pick it up one day when my kid gets older, but yeah, these are the choices we make. Mon Mothma has not necessarily decided to choose her family. And under the Galactic Republic, maybe she doesn't need to make that choice, but under the Empire, well, it drives a wedge between Mon and her family in the most cruel way. And Mon understands that her family does not have the strength she does. So she is not angry when they scold her. Instead, she's just full of sorrow. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to Perrin from here on out, but I do believe that his speech, his amazing speech, shows us another side of this character. The caring father, the reliable wingman for Mon Mothma at social events. He might be a broken man, but he still feels very deeply at that, which means there's still hope, I think, for this man. How it will manifest itself, I don't know. So let me know in the comment section below what you think will happen to Perrin. Will he be involved in Mon Mothma's escape from Coruscant? Will he betray her? Will he do nothing and just stay behind and take care of their daughter, which is honestly enough? Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.